Military officials need your help locating this missing Fort Hood soldier.
We want answers!
Where's my sister? They know where she is, and I want them to speak up.
They are searching after human remains were found this morning.
Authorities had been tracking two suspects in Guillen's case. One is in custody, the other killed himself last night just as police caught up with him.
Out of respect for the Guillen family and their grieving process, we'll not be taking any questions today.
I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm disappointed. We're heartbroken. But there's still amazing contributions by men and women from this installation.
Anyone who does not vote for this building will not be reelected. Do you hear me? If you care about America, you care about the military, you do this!
I'm not going to stop! I'm not going to be silent!
This is a story about a soldier serving our country at one of the largest military installations in the world, Fort Hood, also known as the Great Place. But on April 22nd, 20-year-old Vanessa Guillen went missing.
Army officials offered a $15,000 reward for anyone with credible information on her whereabouts.
Something isn't right. Something happened that it's just hard to tell right now.
We first heard from her sister Myra in late April. On May 1st, Vanessa's family and friends came from Houston to Killeen trying to get attention on her case.
We felt the need to come here and make sure people know that we are very concerned about our friend and we need to find her.
In the early weeks of this case, teams searched Central Texas looking for Vanessa.
We need to keep pushing.
What do we want? Vanessa!
Protests off post happened weekly.
The family of missing Fort Hood soldier Vanessa Guillen has been tirelessly searching for her and pleading with the community for answers and asking for Fort Hood to give them information on what happened to her.
I want my sister back and I want her alive because that base is called the Great Place. Do you think that base deserves that name?
The reward for information increased to more than $50,000.
There's a saying in the military, we leave no soldier behind. We cannot leave Vanessa behind.
Another layer to the story was added in, making this more than a missing persons case. Her family claimed Vanessa was sexually harassed on post.
Colonel Ralph Overland appointed a team to conduct an investigation into allegations that Vanessa Guillen was sexually harassed. He says he takes allegations of sexual harassment very seriously.
Searches were happening on post, and Texas EquiSearch got involved in looking for Vanessa. Then a tip on June 22nd took them and Fort Hood CID to the Leon River in Bell County, a place soon to become a huge backdrop in Vanessa's story. But we aren't quite there yet.
All these things are process of elimination, and the possible lead we got for this area may not be anything to it.
The tip didn't pan out. The next day, the family met with Fort Hood officials along with Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia. The Congresswoman dropped a bomb on reporters.
They are convinced now that there is foul play involved, and they're following all the leads that they can.
There was talk that foul play was involved, but this is the first time 6 News got the information from an official. On June 30th, the news broke at the Leon River.
Where that man just walked in, they say that is where the human remains were found, right this close to the street. A civilian was out here around 11:30 this morning. They smelled something, and that's when Bell County Sheriff's Department was contacted. Again, there were human remains found, that is confirmed, but we cannot confirm, nor can Army CID confirm at this point, that the remains are those of missing Fort Hood soldier Vanessa Guillen, who hasn't been seen since April 22nd.
It was a shallow grave, just very, very few feet away from where the evidence was found.
Let's get to our top story this morning. Breaking news from overnight. A suspect wanted by the Fort Hood Criminal Investigation Division has been killed. According to the Killeen Police Department, they found the suspect on East Rancier Avenue around 1:30 this morning. Officers tried to make contact with that suspect, but according to KPD, the suspect pulled out a gun and shot himself.
We later learned that man was Specialist Aaron Robinson, a suspect in Vanessa's case. We also learned a woman named Cecily Aguilar was arrested. The Guillen family held a national press conference in Washington, D.C. The family attorney Natalie Kawam said they believe the remains found are Vanessa's.
If those criminals are still out there, take my word that we will not rest, we will not stop, and we will keep fighting until you're behind bars.
Kawam called for a congressional investigation and the creation of a bill honoring Vanessa.
And today we're here to demand a congressional investigation into how the protocol was breached, how this family, who deserves answers, never got any.
Back in Texas, the Fort Hood Sexual Harassment Assault Response and Prevention Program was being inspected. The inspection was at the request of 3 Corps leaders. With all of the developments, Fort Hood officials held a press conference on July 2nd, joining in on the conversation.
Vanessa Guillen is a loss to all of us, certainly obviously to her family, but also likewise a loss to us in the Army and here at Fort Hood.
Aside from remorse for the family, details were extremely limited. Officials say they couldn't release certain information because it would jeopardize the investigation. They did say there were no video cameras where the incident happened, there was no evidence Robinson sexually harassed Vanessa, and no information that she was sexually assaulted or harassed. And they couldn't officially confirm the remains. The details of Vanessa's death are grim. A criminal complaint for Cecily Aguilar, which includes an interview with her, says Robinson killed Vanessa with a hammer in an arms room on Fort Hood on April 22nd. Then Robinson reportedly got Aguilar to help dispose of the body, which included mutilating and burning it. When it did not burn completely, they put the remains in 3 holes and buried them. The pair came back to the Leon River area on April 26th, trying to further dispose of the remains. Phone data linked the pair to the area both times.
In this federal courthouse behind me is where the woman accused of conspiracy to tamper with evidence in the Vanessa Guillen case appeared on a video call wearing a mask.
On July 6th, the story made its way to Waco at the federal courthouse when Aguilar appeared in court for the first time.
The Armed Forces Forensic Examiner has determined through DNA analysis that the remains found near the Leon River are in fact those of Vanessa.
That same day, Fort Hood held another press conference, this time confirming the remains belonged to Vanessa. But the main question for us at 6 News is how could she be killed on post, the area cleaned, and the body removed without anyone noticing? But we weren't given the chance to get answers.
Please direct any questions to the Fort Hood Press Center, and we will answer any questions as we are able. Thank you.
We were not expecting to not be able to ask questions today.
The family attorney, Natalie Kawam, told 6 News they are pursuing their own investigation.
It's kind of like if you lost your brother or sister or child, you want to know what's going on. Why did this happen? Who was part of this? Because every person on that base right now is not safe.
They plan to head back to D.C. at the end of July to talk about the I Am Vanessa Guillen bill, created to help protect military victims of sexual harassment and assault.
In our top story tonight, Secretary of the Army Ryan McCarthy will recommend the Department of Defense conduct a full independent review of the entire Vanessa Guillen case.
And I'm pleased to report that the Secretary is going to recommend to the Department of Defense to do this investigation.
Protests continued across the country, calling for answers in the case and justice for Vanessa.
We started from day one and we told them we're here, we're not leaving, we're not going to leave you alone, you're not abandoned.
The next major development took place again in Waco. Aguilar was back in court.
22-year-old Cecily Aguilar pleaded not guilty to all charges of conspiracy to tamper with evidence in connection to Guillen's death.
She's barbaric, okay? There's not another word for her. A savage that does that to a human being.
It was beyond and bizarre of her true character, and I would say that it was a personality of somebody that was crying out for help.
Then at the end of July, the story made its way back to Washington into a U.S. House committee hearing.
The hearing lasted for 2 hours. Now, in a review done by Army officials, it was determined that 1/3 of women surveyed here on Fort Hood reported being sexually harassed.
A march on the city.
Because you taught me to never give up. You taught me to go for it, no matter what the people say.
And a meeting with the President of the United States, where he said the family has his support with the I Am Vanessa Guillen bill.
We're going to see if we can do something representing the family, but also helping other people that are in the same position, because this is not, probably, sadly, it's probably not that unique. There are other people in trouble too.
The meeting came the same day the Secretary of the Army named 5 civilians who will independently review Fort Hood's command, climate, and culture.
We tried to reach out to those panelists to talk about the work they would be doing today, but the Army got back to us and said they would not be doing interviews right now.
A week later, Secretary McCarthy himself visited Fort Hood.
The numbers are high here. They are the highest in most cases for sexual assault and harassment and murders for our entire formation, the U.S. Army. So we are getting an outside look to help us to get to those root causes and understand that so that we can make those changes.
McCarthy said he was launching Project Inclusion to address issues like lack of diversity, discrimination, sexual harassment, sexual assault, and suicide. When it comes to Cecily Aguilar's case, her attorney filed for a gag order that was later denied. Her trial is set to begin on September 28th.
He told me, she's like, you know I'll do anything for you, right? And I was like, I know, we're sisters, we have to stick together.
Over in Houston, Vanessa's long journey home to her final resting place finally began to come to an end on August 14th with a public memorial.
It's crazy to think that we started off with such a small group and now we have the support of everyone. It's something that we did want. We wanted everyone to support and know Vanessa's story so we can get the justice that she deserves.
The next day, her family laid her to rest.
This was a very tragic event. And when you think of what this family's been going through, she went missing April 22nd. Today is August 15th. That's many, many months. So today is a chance to pray for her, pray with the family, give our respects, and give them the distance that they need to grieve together as a family.
They verified her identity with Houston PD. The chief said they do not trust Fort Hood.
As a mother, I think you always hold on to a little bit of hope, but there was great relief knowing that an independent lab had confirmed that it was Vanessa's remains.
This concludes one chapter of Vanessa Guillen's story. A 20-year-old soldier whose life was cut short, killed on post while serving our country. A chapter that saw heartbreak, tragedy, and one that created an international movement for change in the military.